What's happening, everybody? This is Adi again, Gate 7 International. The last and final deep dive while I'm in Galimnos, the last of the Galimin editions for these deep dives, and another late night deep dive with the announcement of Josh Bowler. He is signing from Nottingham Forest. They have purchased him for about 2 million British pounds, and he is going to be sent directly on loan to Olympiacos for the rest of the season. This is a player that is wanted by Steve Cooper. This is a player he's interested in, but this season there's no room for him. He's not in the plans, but he wants him fit, wants him to develop so that he can come back to Nottingham Forest the next season strong and ready to go. Now, like we always do before we get started, guys, don't forget to hit that bell, like and subscribe. The channel is growing like crazy. Uh, it took us, when we first started this channel, almost a year to get 1,000 subs, and then in less than half that time, we got to 2,000. And since we hit 2,000, the subs just continue to take off. So help us grow this red white community. The bigger we get, the more things that we do. So help us grow this community and get more and more people, more Olympiacos fans across the world, the content that they deserve. And again, for all of you betting guys, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to visit betus.com.pa. Gate7INTL is the promo code. You get a 125% deposit boost. Turn $100 into $225, and we can help you with some of our statistics, our data analytics that we do, help you to make the best bet that's going to make you some money. So, guys, once again, like I said, I am Greece. I am in Greece. I am in Galinos, so I do apologize if there's any background sounds. Not much I can do about it when I'm here, so I'm going to try and get through this, get you guys the information as fast as I can before our good friend, the Rooster, starts chiming in with his thoughts on this deep dive. Now, again, as we brought up with before, the players coming on loan, Josh Bowler, very exciting player, young player, still 23 years old. He is left-footed and plays primarily on the right wing. He has played a handful of times in the attacking mid role, generally right-sided attacking mid, but he has played in that, but primarily he's going to be an inverted ringer playing from the right. The player profile. He's very tricky player when he has the ball under off balance. I didn't see a whole lot of things like step overs, not a lot of fancy footwork worthy of note. But he is a very agile player, will cut in and out. Uh, Decent acceleration, nothing out of this world, nothing that's going to really wow you, so to speak. But it's enough because when he changes direction, it's the acceleration is enough to give him some distance between himself and the defender. So um, very good stuff out of him from that. The ball, he keeps the ball pretty close at all times. He seems to like to wait for a defender to make a commitment, stick a foot in or something, so that he can take off and use that to his advantage. So very fun to watch with that respect. So now that I'm finished with the player profile, I'm going to get into some of the analytics, player comparisons. But before discussing the data in the film, I do just want to tell you guys and just make sure you're aware, because the scheme, the tactics that were used at Blackpool are completely different than what we expect and what we're used to at Olympiacos. Blackpool is a little bit more defensive. They don't see as much of the ball. Olympiacos, on the other hand, generally sees a lot more of the ball. Almost double the amount of passes that are played by the team, almost double the amount of possession in many cases. So just bear this in mind, and you'll see why in just a moment. So we're going to get started, as we always do, with goal creation statistics. So in terms of what I saw in the film, most of the goals that he scored were very similar context. It was generally on the break. He when one of his teammates was going down the wing or going down whatever side they were going on, he would position himself. If the ball was coming on the opposite end of the field, he would position himself on the top of where the penalty area was. Not the penalty mark, the penalty box. And when the ball got played into him, or if it fell to him from a deflection, he would just rip a shot from distance from that 18-yard area and usually pick a corner. That seemed to be a lot of the context for his goals. He Outside of the goals, he had a lot of shots cutting in and driving directly towards the goal when he was dribbling the ball. And when the ball is in on his end of the field, he'll pinch in a lot more centrally so that he can get a ball played to him, or he can be prepared maybe if there's a cross or if there's service coming into him in that edge of the penalty area. He will sit around there. Regarding assist creation or pass to assist, things like that, it usually stemmed from him dribbling, drawing a defender, sometimes two, creating open space for one of his teammates, and then him playing the ball to his teammate in the danger areas. Ability of him to draw these defenders created all of this context for where he actually could create a lot of things. It all came from him drawing them to him. You'll notice here in the data that he did underperform his expected assists, and that was entirely due to his teammates being unable to finish these opportunities they get. I mean, it was remarkable. All in the same context, him drawing a defender to him. I shouldn't say all, most of it was this context. Not a lot of threat from crosses or anything, but plenty of context, just him drawing defenders to him, playing balls, usually dump offs or something like that, in and around goal, and his teammates couldn't finish them. Looking a little bit closer into the data, you'll see here I have compared him to Daniel Pudense. And the reason I did that is because when the announcement was made for Josh Bowler, there were some people commenting on, oh, okay, this is the winger that we were supposed to get. This is supposed to be the game changer. And in recent history, I couldn't think of another real game changer at the winger that was a similar play style than Daniel Pudense. And there's not all similarities. There's a lot of differences, but they're close in a lot of respects. And you see here, Daniel Pudense from 2018, 2019, he was that was a season that Kostas Fortounis did very well to 10, but this was a season that he came in and he did a great job for us on the wing. And we look here, we see a similar number of non-penalty goals scored in terms of their per 90. Daniel Pudense obviously underperformed his XG. He has had a much higher non-penalty XG, a little bit more volume in terms of everything, including assists. Pudense had a wider array of things that he could do and provide shot creation for. So, but the data here is pretty good on the goal creation side, whether it's the goals that he's taking or the provision of it. We see a sort of parity here. On the assist side, of course, Daniel Pudense, in terms of the actual number of assists, is way higher. But you look at the expected assists, and Josh Bowler underperformed that. But that's he can only do so much. He can't score the goals for the guys that he's playing the ball to as well. So you see here that the expected assists are pretty similar, which indicates that if he had teammates that could finish better, maybe his actual assist figure would be higher as well. So this is pretty good compared to, again, 2018, 2019 Daniele Pudense. The data here is quite encouraging from a goal creation aspect. Now, moving on, we have built up in possession, of course, and we see some low volume. We do see that right off the bat. Low volume buildup because he's not pivotal in buildup, and he wasn't usually noticeable a lot on the field until the ball was played into the final third. So he was usually an outlet receiving the ball, going into the final third. You can kind of see that in the data here. Constant movement, but not necessarily dynamic. And what I mean by that is I saw a lot of the same movements down, whether it was just cutting in off the ball to be present in the center of the field or just going down the line. I didn't see a lot of the dynamic movement. There's these rotating runs in and out here and there. So curious to see how that translates. And like I said, it's kind of unclear if this was the scheme at Blackpool or if it's him. It's something unfortunate I can't really comment on. It's hard to tell. Um, Now, one of the reasons I brought up that before looking at the data, I wanted you guys to remember that he was in a completely different system. And I'm going to reiterate this again. Um, a lot of a lot of the reason that his volume when it comes to build up like this is low is because Blackpool doesn't dominate possession. So proportionally, if you look at the number of passes that they're completing, that the team is making, like I said, it's in the 300s, just mid to high 300s, barely. But for Olympiacos, with Daniel Pudense at that season, we were looking at an average of over 500, 540, 550. Some games were over 600. You know what I mean? So the ball was being played around more. So Pudense was going to see more of that. Now, even if we adjust for the level of possession or the level of ball movement that was happening, Pudense still has higher volume in more things, but still, the all that into consideration, Balor's volume, even though it's low because it's at Blackpool, it's if we equal things out, it's not as stark of a difference, we should say. His passing accuracy is low. I mean, Pudense is also at 74. I told you guys with creative players, I don't, when it gets to like the low 70s, it's not something I'm super just kind of sitting teetering on that level of acceptability that we have. But um, you know, um, we'll just say that he's much better at least at carrying the ball than he is at distributing the ball, especially in early build-up. He excels when it comes to delivering in that final third. Like I said, when he's drawing the defender to them, playing off, that's really where he excels. I didn't see a lot of one-touch pass and move. I know with the Corberon system, it's very important with these dynamic runs that you can do one touch. We want to see more of that. I didn't see a lot while he was at Blackpool. Not enough to tell me if he's adequate in that one touch give and go all the time. His technical ability leads me to say yes. But some of the decision making I saw with the passing makes it kind of unclear. And this is where I'm going to kind of comment and remark more on that. With a creative player, that doesn't necessarily bother me. But I saw a lot of bad decisions being made when he was passing the ball. Some of them were just careless, some of them overeager, maybe in situations where I never thought he had a chance of completing a pass. Um, Something to monitor. He's not like a young academy player anymore. He's 23, he's still on the younger side, but you need to start seeing at this age something that's relatively developed. So we'll monitor that. But in build up, it's something that's a little bit. I don't necessarily want to say underwhelming, um, but it's not for those people that thought maybe this was going to be a guy that was going to be super helpful in build up, especially from the defensive and middle third. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that. Reflecting more on the data here, I brought up to you guys that he's better carrying the ball than distributing the ball. It's reflected here. Look at the carries versus the passes. I also included received passes here. Now again, Bodense was in a system where the ball was moving around more. He received the ball more, so that makes sense. Over double, more than double the received passes as Bowler was. But you look at his carries and his progressive passes. He's not making a lot of progressive movements forward by passing the ball. It's mainly him. It's mainly him carrying the ball forward because that's the type of player he is. He's carrying the ball forward a lot more. He doesn't have the as many smart passes as a guy like Bodense had. I still think, if I remember correctly, that he was decently up there if we were ranking just players in the championship. I remember seeing that regarding smart passes, but when you compare him to a guy like Podense, who was a very creative player, did a lot of stuff for us, he's not quite on the same level when it comes to that level of creativity. And for those that don't remember, a smart pass by Y Scout's determination is a pass that leads to a dangerous opportunity, a very threatening opportunity. So that's why we include that in the metrics. In terms of dribbles, of course, look, his volume of dribbles completed is incredible. I mean, this guy Now, these are successful dribbles, obviously. So if we look at the number of dribble attempts, remember, guys, Pudense was averaging like eight one-on-one dribbles a game. I mean, this guy's averaging almost 10. Gives you an idea. Likes to take people on, and he's pretty good at it too. I brought that up before. He's a great carrier of the ball. So that's definitely something that we can expect from him on that front. So bringing it kind of all back regarding build-up possession. Defensive and middle third, don't expect too much out of him in regards to build-up. He is definitely an outlet and somebody that's going to really, really, really benefit us in that final third. And lastly, it's not the most important thing for us, but we do like to focus on this even for more offensive and creative players, and that's the defensive traits. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not overly impressed with his defensive attributes, even based on the fact that he's an offensive guy. And we say we don't normally care as much about this. What we care about is their ability to track back, just the fact that they're going to press. And yeah, it was tough because I didn't see, the championship is just a different animal. There is pressing. It's very physical. Blackpool's a little bit more of a defensive setup. All that taken into consideration, I was not overly impressed. The volume was low, and I'm going to get to the data in a second. I wasn't super impressed. He did seem to struggle tracking back. The team Blackpool's usually behind the ball, like I said, because they're not in possession all the time. So you would expect that he would have more volume of certain things, like interceptions and defensive duels, things like that, clearances. When it came to trying to evaluate his ability to track back, there was less moments of me being able to see stuff like that. And from the moments I saw it, I didn't see a lot of it. Worrying, but if this is a player that Corberon actually wants, I'm sure that he's either taking that into consideration or he believes that this is something that can be worked on. The funny thing about this, though, and we'll focus a little bit more on the data now, is that he's horrible in the air. I mean, he doesn't really get involved in aerial duels very much, but the fact that Daniel Podense won more aerial duels than this guy did speaks volumes. I mean, you can say maybe the Greek league and the championship, okay, hard to compare the two leagues, but the Greek league is a very physical league as well, and a defensive league. And, I don't think it's a stretch to say that somebody that wins aerial duels in Greece is less likely to win them at the championship because it's more difficult in that respect. No, I would disagree with that. And Daniele Pudense, a much shorter guy, much shorter stature, won a lot more aerial duels than at least Josh Bowler did. So it just speaks volumes. And something I want to bring up is we lauded Pudense for his ability to track back. And some of you are probably asking a question here. Well, Bowler has more tackles. He has more interceptions, possession adjusted, of course, more clearances than Pudense. But yet you're telling us that Pudense was great at tracking back and this guy isn't. I'm going to reiterate, in the championship, Blackpool did not have a lot of possession. So they were usually on the defensive end. You would expect his volume to be higher. That being said, and the nature of the championship, his volume is low, even considering all of those things together. It's low even for the championship. So, and visually seeing how he tracks back, you see that maybe he's not the best at it. All I'll say about that is that's not why we're signing this guy. It's not something I'm going to worry about 100%. It's not. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It's not the biggest thing in the world. Just something to be mindful of at the very least going forward. Now that you guys have seen the data, you've seen the stats regarding the player, it's about that time where we go into my verdict. You've seen everything. I've showed you everything. So what do we think? Do we like this guy? Do we not like this guy? And I'm going to tell you, all things considered, based on the context of what Olympiacos needs, we need a winger That's good. Playmaker and do something. That's why we brought in Pep Biel at number 10, who also can play on the wing. Hopefully he plays as the 10 because he's an amazing 10. We need players that can do something from nothing. And you know what? At the very least, if this guy maybe isn't the best distributor of the ball, isn't going to help us in build up coming out of the defensive and middle third, is he going to offer us something in the final third, which none of our front three have been able to do so far in the beginning of the season? And this guy has started. Remember, the championship starts earlier than other leagues, so he's already got 8 games under his belt in the championship, and he's picked up right where he left off last season. In fact, if you look at his numbers already for the season, the most of the offensive have gotten better, and some of the build-up stuff has gotten better too. If we're calculating on a per 90-minute basis, so he's already improved on that type of stuff just going into this season. So I think we're catching a player that's in stride. I think he can offer us something in that regard. A player that I kind of see him as more of a similarity to. Some people said, I think I saw somebody that said something about Miralas, or somebody compared him to, I'm already forgetting. I've seen so many things on social media about him today. Player I'm going to compare him to, and maybe this worries you, maybe it doesn't, is Vladimir Weiss. I don't know if you guys remember him from that season, the Michel season, when we went to play against Manchester United in the round of 16, when we played PSG and he scored that goal against PSG in the group stage of Champions League. He has stellar ability getting by defenders and scoring goals. But if you remember Vladimir Weiss, he had that stellar dribbling ability as well, but he always held the ball on too long. Like, that's all he wanted to do was dribble past people. I think this player has a higher IQ, footballing IQ, than Vladimir Weiss did, at least when he played for us. At least he doesn't seem to hold the ball too long, so to speak. His more problem is more the decision making of how he makes a pass, when should he make it, who should he make that pass to, you know what I mean? Instead, should he just play the guy that's right there in front of him, or should he try and make some of these more complicated passes? So that's more of a comparison I see to him with that context and consideration. So that being said, what's my verdict? Do I like this player? And again, based on what this club needs, he fills that role. We need a playmaker. We need somebody that can make something from nothing. We don't necessarily need somebody that can defend. We'll work on that. That's fine. The team right now looks like, in the first few games you guys saw, we have a lot of touches in the penalty area. Possession is doing very well. First couple games we're in the high 60s. We move the ball around very well, but it's the final third that's struggling. Whether it's our strikers or our wingers, nobody can seem to do much. We need somebody that can take somebody on, and that's what he does. Even if he can't do the other things well, if he can't pass well, he can take players on, make something happen, and draw an extra defender. So, that being said, this is another low risk signing. It's low risk, and it's a 1 year. There's not much of a ceiling for us. We need him to perform well. Nottingham Forest is looking for a team to help keep him fit, develop him maybe a season. So there's only so much we can get out of him, unless he hits the ground running, of course. Maybe he does something great for us like Joel Campbell did. I don't know if he'll have that level of effect, but I think at the very least he's going to do a job for us in Greece. I think he's a great option to have off the bench, as we mentioned, like Conrad de la Fuente. I do see him. Maybe I think the transition with him will be easier than De La Fuente. I told you guys, I thought that Conrad could take a while to transition with the team. The type of player that this guy is, and the fact that he likes to carry the ball, he prefers that, I don't think he's going to have as much difficulty transitioning into this team based on what his talents and what we want him to do. I think that he should fit in relatively quickly. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I hope nothing but the best for him. I think this is a solid move for Olympiacos, a solid deadline day deal, and I think that he is going to help us at the very least in Greece this season. So hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive. This is going to be the last deep dive for me, at least if there's any signings over the course of the weekend, because I will be traveling back to the States. I'll be back, and then of course, if any other signings occur while I'm back in the States, I'll get them out to you. But this will be the last Galimian edition deep dive. Sorry again for the background noise. There were a couple of, no rooster this time, but there were a couple of motorcycles going around. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe. Be notified anytime you see one of these scouting reports. If you want to hear the latest for anything, whether it comes to transfers, whether it comes to scouting reports or match news, always new stuff coming out. We're always trying to find ways to make stuff better. And if you want to see more stuff for the deep dive, I'm actually learning new analytics methods that I'm going to use. Once I perfect them, I'll be able to use them probably in the winter. I won't be able to use them coming from now, but I'll have new things. If you want me to do different things, you guys wanted the player comparison, so I started doing them. If you want me to do something else, let me know, and I'll tailor it to what you guys want to see. So anyway, thanks again, guys, for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered all your questions. You can always reach out to me on socials as well if you have any other questions. But until next time, this is Gate 7 International, by the fans for the fans, and we'll see you next time.